All right, so think about this. History remembers the really bad guys, right? The tyrants, the villains. But what about the people who just, built their lives on getting ahead? Like, that's it, worldly success. What if that is what actually makes you the biggest loser in the end?
Mm.
That's the kind of the crazy idea we're going to dive into today.
Okay.
It's based on this excerpt about, greatest losers on Judgment Day.
Okay.
Now, look, we're not getting all, theological or anything here, but it's just a really interesting way to think about what makes a life, I don't know, worthwhile.
Right.
Even more than like what you achieve.
Right, yeah.
So what do you make of this idea, this whole greatest loser thing?
Well, it's really interesting how this source defines these losers, It's not about being rich or even doing bad stuff. It's all about your intention. Why are you doing what you're doing?
Hmm.
The excerpt, it argues that people who spend their lives just chasing achievements and ignoring any bigger purpose, something higher, those are the people who fall short.
So you could be super successful, right? Like a big CEO or a famous celebrity. But if you're just doing it for yourself, according to this, it's basically all for nothing?
Exactly, yeah. And that's where this powerful image comes in, this idea of weightless work.
Ooh, I like that. Weightless works. Okay.
Yeah, so imagine a giant cosmic scale, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's weighing everything we do, all our actions.
Whoa.
And what this text is saying is that, even the impressive things I don't know, building a palace or starting a university, those could all be, weightless in the end.
Yeah. And that's what I find so interesting about this, right? Like we tend to measure success by those things, what we build, what we accomplish. But what if this source is right? What if in the grand scheme of things, they really are meaningless?
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
And that leads to a really big question, right? How do we measure what our actions are actually worth? What are the values that we're using to make our decisions? What's important to us?
Right. Okay, so if all these big achievements are weightless, what does have weight according to this source?
Well, it really emphasizes actions that are done, for a higher purpose, like following divine instruction, doing things to please a higher power.
Right.
Of course, that's where, things get a little tricky to interpret, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
But I think we can still connect it to, ideas that people talk about today.
Okay, yeah, I see that. So how do we, I don't know, how do we bring this ancient text into our modern world?
Well, the big idea, right? Acting not just for yourself, but for something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
That's something that you see a lot nowadays, in the effective altruism movement, for example.
Right.
It's this idea of, dedicating your life to a cause, but not because you want to be famous, but because you genuinely want to make a difference, have a positive impact.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think resonates, even if you're not, religious. What about you? Have you seen anything like that in your life?
Yeah, for sure. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? About what you actually want to leave behind. What will your legacy be?
Absolutely. It all comes back to this idea of actions that actually, carry weight. It's not about the size of the action,
Right.
It's about why you're doing it and what the impact is going to be.
So just to kind of sum up here, this excerpt, the source, it's really pushing us to examine why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
Are we building things that will last, however we define that,
Yeah, that's a powerful question. It's like a thought experiment,
Yeah.
Imagine looking back on your life years from now from a different perspective and asking yourself, what were the actions that really mattered? What were the things that actually made a difference?
It's like a cosmic report card or something, right? But even if we're not, thinking about some divine scale, it's still something really, really interesting to think about. What do you think? What are your, weighty actions going to be? Something to ponder, right?
Yeah.